y'all hear me? Interesting. Huh. Can't hear me, huh? There we go. Hmm. Mhm. Yeah, not too bad. I am. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. You can hear me? Okay, yeah. Okay, thanks, man. Can you hear me now, Josh? Okay. Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. I do it all the time. Thank you. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Whichever one. What's up? You need something?
Oh, yeah. I signed in. If anybody else was on.
Oh, I don't think anybody else is on here.
Uh, so, um, um, you put on there, on my, um, draft about I think it was the two different colors of font, like the
Yeah,
black and the blue.
yeah.
So this is what the APA manual has.
Um,
This is a seventh edition. If you want me to do it all black, I will.
no. The what I was getting at was I know it's blue because it's hyperlink,
Right.
and so it said to keep hyperlinks in it, so it's good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
Because I
Yeah.
thought you took a pointer, you took some points off for that,
Mm-mm.
because there was a comment for
Was it? Nah,
Yeah.
yeah, because I comment doesn't mean I took a point off.
it. Okay.
Because I wasn't sure because I remembered hearing something about a change on
Yeah,
that.
I had brought that up to you before.
No, before you said,
Oh,
before
okay,
you told me, but then I didn't get a chance to really delve into it. And then when you said, I was like, okay, cool,
Yeah.
got you. But I didn't take any points off because there was nothing wrong with necessarily.
Right,
The
right,
format
right.
was good,
Yeah,
and
this
everything.
is way different than the sixth edition.
Yeah, it doesn't
Since I'm the only one here, do you want me to move back over there?
it's up to you. Yeah, it's up to you.
I'll move, because that way you're not.
Yeah,
You're not
it's okay. It's gonna be a short class. This presentation is weird, and I was planning on, I mean, not weird, I'm short.
Yeah.
And I was planning on giving you guys, letting you guys go early to kind of give you some time to work on your papers and stuff like that.
Yeah, I already did my quiz, stuff like that. So.
Yeah, so I know Anna's not gonna be here. Rad's probably gonna show up late, so is Z, and then Joshua. So everybody else pretty much shows up late normally, except for
I was here earlier for.
you and Jim Clark. So we'll give him a few more minutes, and then we'll get rolling. But it's not this presentation is extremely short.
So is chapter 14.
Yeah, they get shorter and shorter. We're towards the end, so I think the last topic is global.
I wish week 8 was open, because I was gonna do the quiz for week 8 just to get ahead of things.
Yeah, unfortunately they don't like when you open stuff early.
I always do the quiz I always download the material, read the material, go through the book, and take the quiz on Monday.
Yeah, that's the best bet.
Because I don't like to have to.
And I like to have everything done myself, kind of as soon as possible.
I apologize to some extent for the length of the video for our group discussion, but when you have 5 people in it.
Yeah, they were all pretty long, so it's all good. I mean, but rather that than short and trashy.
I had to do a lot of fixing of stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I don't understand why I'm the only one in their first class.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't get how.
I don't know either, to tell you the truth. It's rather ridiculous.
I'm sure you grade accordingly.
I do.
Sure, if I would have just submitted what had been sent to me, our grade would not have been what it is.
No, and that's never the case. It's always got to edit it because it's just, unfortunately, when you do group work and people, they bring their habits to the group. And so now you can see kind of like the things that professors kind of deal with on an individual basis, right? Yeah, you taught, but somebody who hasn't taught before and never graded anything doesn't realize like you have one student who does everything right, and then you have another 5 or 6 who just disregard the whole process, and so you have to go in it every time.
It was 8 hours of work.
Yeah. Yeah, every week it's the same thing. Every week I'm saying the same thing. I sound repetitive, and it's like, oh, why are you harping on this so much? Because you're not doing it. And so as time goes on, especially with doctoral students, I start to deduct more points.
No, I don't like
Yeah, as you start to, week 1, cool, you get a pass. Week 2, yeah, somewhat of a pass. Week 3, Now I start week 4, 5, 6, 7. You're not doing it, then you start getting hit, and it's like, why
Yeah,
you?
they wouldn't have, if I wasn't in a group that grade would have been, and I'm not saying that to brag or.
No, no, it just yeah, Matt, how you doing?
Hello, doctor. Hi, doctor. How are you?
I'm good. I see you're online, huh?
Yeah, I'm a
See
little
you
bit
today?
sick. I have a flu. That's why I didn't come to
Oh
the
no. Oh,
campus. Yeah.
okay. Stay there. Okay.
How are you? How is everything?
Everything is good. Everything is good. No, no
Perfect.
complaint. It's busy. I see. I see.
Oh.
I see. Your husband called me. That's why he was calling me to tell you weren't coming to class.
Yeah, I told him I wanted to call Carol, but no one was answering me, not Carol, no
Okay.
Isabella. That's why
Okay.
I tried to call you. Yeah,
Okay. No worries. No worries. All right. Cool. We'll start in a few minutes. Okay. It's
yeah. Okay.
gonna be a short class anyway, so you're good.
Trying to think.
Yeah, you can drive back in the daylight, but
Yeah, no,
drive back.
there will be no delay.
No, we don't think like the time. So
All right,
okay.
I'm used to it.
Any questions about anything? Joshua, I got your stuff. I just haven't graded it yet, but I got it. So you're
just read your comment 2 days ago. I don't
yeah.
my front page, everything.
Everything is all crazy. It's crazy. So just as long as it's fixed for the final, it's all good.
Oh,
What am I
one
doing
other
here?
thing, do we have an abstract?
No,
Okay,
no.
it's a dissertation.
Yeah, no abstract. I don't know why I was doing that. Why I didn't do it. Yeah, no abstract. Yeah, that you can, but not not necessary.
Just find most abstracts are very much almost the same as the introduction. In a lot of ways.
Well, the abstract should really be a quick summary of everything,
Right.
including the intro, lit review, methodology, and the results.
Yeah.
Should be everything. So it gives the reader an idea, okay, what happened, what were the results and what your findings were without having to go through the whole paper. But sometimes you have an executive summary, it's all depends, but no abstract necessary for this particular paper, okay? Okay, so week 7, we got one more week next week. Hopefully I'm pretty much caught up on all the grading except for miscellaneous stuff that people have sent me, so you should be all good to go. What else? That's it. Good work on the, research discussion and also, Brad, how you doing? Oh, good. On the, research discussion and also the group, case analysis. I really like the work, super in-depth. Um, I like how you guys put it together. There were some mostly grammatical and format things, that weren't too hot, but they weren't super bad. It's just that when you work as a group and you're submitting one product, it should look like one person did it. It shouldn't look like four different people did it. If I can see that different people did it, that's not what I want. I want to see that it looks like one seamless piece of information because it looks like you guys are all connected, everybody integrated exactly where they need to integrate, and there was some transition between each person's part. And so you need to have that because me as the reader, I don't really care about who did the work for the most part. I just want to read the information. And if I have a specific question, I should just be able to address it to the group, to the team as a whole. And then whoever did do the work, if they're the ones that, have the expertise, then they'll speak up. Aside from that, then, it's not really any concern of the reader, because then it starts to break up the flow because the parts should connect to where I'm just like going from one thing and just boom, it's supporting what I just read. The next part supporting what I just previously read. Just like if you wrote it yourself, right? When I have two, three different things, this person wrote this and then it jumps to the lit review and then the lit review is talking about something totally different and not connected in any way. Not connected in a way that it should be, when you write one person writing. But it wasn't that bad. You guys did pretty good. It was mostly just formatting stuff and there wasn't any transition. It was just a break and then boom, that next person's part started. Like, we don't want that. We want to flow into it. We want a transition that connects each part to each part and it flows so that the reader has an easy time reading it and can reference back to each section and not have to worry about anything about trying to figure out like which part did I see it in and how does this part connect with this and all this other stuff. So all in all, pretty good work. It's probably the most trying week 6, because there's a bunch of stuff they just dump. You got the quiz, research, discussion. You got the group case analysis. There's a lot of stuff in week 6. So I'm not a fan of the way it's set up, and I've tried to get it changed because I'm like, there's a lot to do in one week, especially with the group component to it. But you guys handle it pretty well, so appreciate that. And then aside from that, got one more week and then that'll be that. Move on one course down and one step closer to your ultimate goal. All right, so take advantage of it. Let's see what else. Some of the challenges I found interesting. One of the things that I'm gonna say now, that I told you before, the methodology for this particular piece of research is not primary data collection. Okay? I don't need to see anything about mixed methods and how you did surveys and questionnaires because you're not authorized to do that. Okay, it's secondary data, review, analysis of literature review, and that's how you get your information. To put down you did mixed methods or you did a survey or questionnaire, you step in a whole lot of hot mess. Yeah, you step in a whole lot of hot mess because there's a process for that. Any piece of research you do, it has to go to the IRB, the Internal Review Board, Institutional Review Board, excuse me. It has to go to IRB, and they have to approve it. It doesn't matter who does the research. The IRB is a governing body, an authority, and we have IRB representatives on campus or designated IRB representative, and they have to screen every piece of research that's being done to make sure that there's no advantage, disadvantage groups aren't being taken advantage of, ethical concerns, right? There's a lot of things that go into actually doing research and where you're collecting your data. So to just say that you did a study, that's not gonna cut it. That's just gonna tell you copy and paste. So I'm giving everyone fair warning now, okay? The methodology should be very, very short. Hey, this is how I collected my data, the analysis of journal articles, got some anecdotal data, anecdotal stuff. And I just read a lot, and this is how I got my information. All right, and leave it alone. All right, that's it. You're not doing any real collection of data. There's not enough time in this course.
to do that. Not at all. The IRB process by itself takes about 4 to 5 weeks, and that's if it's a expedited exempt study. If you do an extended, full comprehensive study, it usually takes about 16 weeks to get an approval from the IRB. Yeah, and you have to take the IRB class yourself. So, and you have to have a certificate and all this other stuff. So it doesn't work that way. I know everybody may think it works that way. You just go out and do whatever research you want, but no. All right. So just fair warning, if I see it, probably gonna be the F. All right, probably gonna be the F. So
survey.
doing a survey. Yeah.
Actually, I came across the survey part in some literature review,
No, that's fine. Yeah,
but I said, no way to put that because you're not doing survey.
that's okay. If the survey, if it's a piece of research, if it's a journal article, peer reviewed, they probably have done some research. That's okay for you to use as secondary data. Saying, hey, I reviewed this journal article. Within this article, such and such said this happened. Based on the results that they found from their research study, 58% of were African American, 68% were African. That's fine. You yourself, as a primary data collector, no. You yourself creating the survey or finding a reliable and valid survey, administering that survey. How did you get the survey out? How did you do it? Did you do it via email? Did you do mail? Did you have incentives? Did you get permission from the person that created the survey? Right? You got all that stuff has to be done prior to you. And if you create the survey, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that goes into it. You gotta do all the reliability tests. You gotta do the criterion test, right? You have to do all those things yourself, and those things are not principal component analysis is nothing you guys are gonna do, all right? I know how to do it, but I know stats. I understand it, right? You have to do principal component analysis in order to have your own survey because you have to come up with your Chromback alpha. You gotta come up with if it's valid. You gotta make sure it's good to go. You gotta do a beta test on the survey, right? Have at least 30 people do a beta test on it. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into it. That's just like, oh, yeah, we got this survey that I wrote, and we're gonna give it. Doesn't work that way, all right? So just so you know, right? And it makes your work easier for the classes because you're doing research, right? You're practicing your research. The statistical part is not necessarily. It's not that it's not important. It is, but more than likely, as a researcher, you're not going to be necessarily collecting all the data. Like you'll collect it, but you probably won't analyze it. You probably have a statistician or somebody that's what they do on your team to analyze the data for you, do the number crunching and all that stuff. All right. So just keep that in mind. That's the way it should be for all your classes. Except when you get to your dissertation. That point, then except for research methods. When you take a research methods class, you'll do a little, mock survey, right? But it's just so you can practice collecting data, understanding how double barrel questions work, understanding how you can be leading, right? A lot of legal stuff as far as like some of the jargon when it comes to like leading the participant, all right? Doing double blind, like there's a lot of other things that go into that, but you can do that in a research methods class and learn how to do all that, okay? So just keep that in mind.
Are DBA students allowed to attend dissertation officially?
You mean actual dissertation defense?
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's open to the public. Every
You
dissertation,
can learn from, let you see how it works.
every dissertation is public.
Really?
Yes, the way it should go is the person's gonna defend a dissertation, announcement saying such and such is defending the dissertation, this day, this place, this time. It's open to the public. You can come in and ask any questions you want.
Yeah, because you can learn from that.
Yeah, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point, is to have it open so that people can come in and heckle you. Like I have people come to mine and ask a gazillion questions.
आज इतना बिजी है आज मुझे मेहरौली जाना है चांदनी चौक जाना है सरोजनी भी जाना है
Who's thing is on? Well, go ahead, say, do what twice?
That is sent message that you mentioned now.
Oh, yeah, you've only seen that twice, right?
Twice.
Yeah.
Does it mean people don't graduate like that?
No, they do, just that the school is not necessarily following, adhering to the policy. I've done 2 dissertations and I know they haven't gone out. They haven't notified the student body. They should. Yeah. It's, it's tough, there's a lot of change going on. Shorthanded, you got 1 or 2 people handling the whole DBA program, and there's a lot of people in the DBA program. And so it gets kind of tedious, you forget those little things. But at the end of the day, yes, the school, people are graduating, they're leaving, but it's just that you don't know because the school doesn't announce it like they should, so. And it's something that they're gonna fix, they're working on it, you just gotta have somebody that's on top of like, okay, this is who's coming up next, right? And then it should be about at least a week or 2 before that person, is gonna present or defend a dissertation. That notice should go out to the student body. To say, hey, such and such is defending, right? Or, when it's your turn, you just prompt the school like, hey, can you make sure that, the notice goes out that I'm defending? That way you have people there. Because I mean, some of this stuff is super interesting, but like Rad said, you want to go and just check it out. I sat on the planning dissertations and learned a lot, like, what not to do, what to do, and just interesting topics in general. And then people in the crowd, and you kind of get to meet some of the other professors, right? Get to know them. They might be interesting to you as far as being a committee member, saying, hey, you know what, I liked your topic, and your chair or one of your committee members, I wouldn't mind having them. That's how I got one of my committee members, because you can find who's good at what, all right? And so for me, when I did that, I got one of the committee members. The only reason I got this person, because he was my staff person. He was a researcher. That's what he did. Industrial psychology. He was a researcher. He did research all the time. So his stats was on the money. So I knew that, hey, if I got him, that he would guide me in the right direction as far as statistical analysis, as far as like what tests you need to run. This was before I kind of had the stats in my head, kind of sort of, right? But I still had to kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure about this. Now I know what I'm doing, but when you have somebody who's actually a statistician, and they're on your committee, they'll make sure to call you out on things like, hey, don't waste your time with this. Do this. You got a categorical variable with this, so you need to do a t-test. You need to do, a ANOVA or Mancova or whatever it is, right? You need to do sequential modeling or whatever the case may be, right? Don't want to do that, but you just don't know, right? And so that's one less thing for you to have to worry about. If you have somebody who's expert at that particular thing, especially the stats, because that's where most of the students get stuck. Because all the other stuff is pretty simple, right? The writing and the reading and the analyzing of the content, collecting the data, that stuff is simple. It's when it comes down to, okay, how do I crunch these numbers? And then when I get the numbers, what do they mean, right? What does this F score mean? What is this, what does R squared mean? Right? What does, a refined R squared mean? How do I create my regression? How do I create my model, right? My statistical model, not just my model on paper with the IVs and DVs, but how do I put it in the sense of Y equals MX plus B, right? How do I do that, right? Based on the information I get from the output from SPSS. What does that look like? What do the coefficients look like? Which coefficient do I use? The students will look at the output and be like, I have no idea where to even start. Because there's 3 different outputs, right? Like, which one? Do I use the ANOVA one? Do I use the summary one? Do I use one for the t-test? Do I need a t-test? Do I need, there's a bunch of stuff in there. So, but either way, it's good, to go out there. What's up?
I have a question. I met someone. He's a doctor. I mean, he got his MBA, and each time I meet him, because we meet in the public library. Each time I meet him, he insists I should do my MBA on market efficiency, stock market efficiency.
Okay.
And he said, I will help you a lot. See? So I'm always thinking to do it, but at the same time, I said, oh, this is not maybe something already people did it like other candidates or.
Yeah, it might be, but you gotta, so the thing is like, they say, oh, it has to be something someone hasn't looked at yet, right? Which is true, but it's not that, it's a lot, you could be more specific, right? It could be the same
Find the
topic.
niche topic.
Yeah, it could be the same topic, like, oh, marketing efficiencies at banks, marketing efficiencies as it relates to hospitals, marketing efficiencies as it relates to schools. That's a whole different topic, right? It's still marketing efficiencies, but it's a whole different lens. So as long as it's like that, right, it's not specifically a topic that's been tapped into already, then you're
Or
fine.
like, some people did it, for the US, you can do it,
You can do it internationally, you can do it from a global perspective. There's a whole bunch, yeah, there's a lot of room, wiggle room, so, and that's one of the things that I struggled with early on too, not understanding that it doesn't have to be like a novel topic, because there's no such thing as a novel topic, there's no new thing, right? So it just, the point of, hey, let's look at, like I had one of my students, she did banking and trading, high frequency trading, HFTs. Anybody know what HFTs are? High frequency trading? No? Okay. So high frequency trading, basically, you and I trade on the stock market, right? And we go at the stock, we will put it in, da. That's not how the brokerage firms do it. The brokerage firms have a computer, an algorithm, who's buying 3,000, 4,000 shares per second. They click, 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 click. You can't keep up. So you'll never ever be able to beat JP Morgan or Charles Schwab at the stock game, because it's just like that. That's high frequency trading. And so how does that affect the average regular investor? If you have a high frequency trading algorithm going, how do I ever get the benefit of the bottom price? If you are buying up all the stock in 2 seconds, when do I get in? I get in up here when it's super high, because I can't get in down here because you bought it up, and you're increasing it because now you're buying so much of it that there's a demand for it, or you're creating an artificial demand sort of. So go ahead.
Yeah, so I think that the only time when they can beat them is based on strategy, because in the algorithm, they've set parameters. If it goes below this, that's when it's gonna buy.
Yeah.
So your parameters are different, you're gonna beat them.
Well, you don't have any parameters because you don't have high frequency trading.
Right.
You don't have the computers. You don't have the processing power. That's the problem. The banks have these huge servers, these cores. That's all they're for. We don't have that on our PCs. What we have on our PCs and what we have access to, is not sufficient at not even
And now
small.
applications are very efficient. I mean, before maybe, application, there is like some gaps, but now they are getting better.
Yeah.
Yesterday I found the map, I showed my age to the app, it
Yeah.
will give me exactly my age. I was like, what?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good apps
It
out
can
there.
tell you, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it gives you your age.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff out there. I mean, but again, it's all based on data, and information is collected, and sometimes it's not right. Sometimes it's good, but there's just different topics, different areas you can look at. You can look at face recognition and how it has an impact on corporate entities, right? Like, for instance, how does it affect the bottom line, like the Border Patrol, right? TSA, immigration, right? How does that affect the bottom line when it comes down to them using that kind of technology, right? And face recognition has been used in many instances. The FBI uses it, all these federal entities use it, and sometimes it's right, sometimes it's wrong, right? People have gotten kind of set up. If we look like each other, right? If Joshua and I are standing in front of a face recognition algorithm or apparatus, it's gonna pick up, oh, we're both dark skinned. They must be the same guy. And so it's just they have their kinks, but there's application implication using those things. And you can talk about those things in your dissertation, right? You can explore those things. And then from a financial standpoint, how does that affect, the global market? How does that affect a particular company, or just the software in general being integrated into everyday processes, right? So right now we have biometrics, right? But I remember when biometrics first came in, a lot of people were like, nope, it's just gonna be stupid. Nobody's gonna want to give up their data about who they are and stuff about themselves. And I remember the Marine Corps, before they started instituting it, And we were going to deploy, we were going off to combat, and they took biometrics, right? They took certain things. Now, biometrics could be a number of things, tattoos, fingerprint, eye scan, and back then it wasn't as fancy as it is now, but they definitely took tattoos and that kind of thing. But nowadays, you can open your phone with your eyes. That's a biometric, right? Right, thumbprint, right? The thumbprint is actually an old biometric. It's considered ancient, right? Because now you have this, right? If you go to Sweden, they got their little chip inside their little hand, or even Ohio, I should say, right? They're experimenting with the little chip. It's about the size of a grain of rice. Stick it right in here, and you don't need keys, you don't need a wallet, you don't need anything. It's read only. You just boop. You open the door, it opens the door to everything that you have access to. If you come into work and boop, open the door. Car, boop, bank, boop. Right? That's what they're going to. The little thing, or the bracelets. There's a bunch of stuff, but all those things are all topics that you can use and try to connect. Because DBA is a little. I find it very difficult to find a topic that's like you can actually explore and get the information and get the data that you need. So you can do it different couple ways, but there's definitely different topics out there, different areas to look at. So don't, just brainstorm, think about, some things you
Also, there
like.
are some websites you can see, you can put like the 50 days to the topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can get
Yeah,
a
look at
list
them.
of stuff with
Yeah, yeah, you do them in different perspective and different just angles. Works fine,
Like you said, you can change the little bit.
Yeah, you gotta change it. You just gotta change it to something that you're interested in and that makes sense, that has some practical relevance in the business sphere, right? It just can't be, oh, I'm gonna, do something on plungers or something, I don't know. Something, what does that have to do? What's the value in that, right? You gotta find something that's going to contribute. And basically with the guidance is, whatever you do your dissertation on, especially as a DBA, you should be able to take it the next day, package it up, and take it to a company and say, hey, look, this is the research I did. What do you think? You guys should invest in this, and let's try that at your company. That's really the end state for DBAs, really. Like, you should take it and come show, oh, yeah, hey, we like that research. Yeah, it should be useful. It has to be useful, right? But DBA specifically, because it's a practitioner degree, all right? It's not a what you gonna call it?
Philosophical.
Yeah, it's not a philosophical degree, right? It's a practitioner. I'm a researcher, right? You guys are practitioners. You're gonna be in there in the grind, in the trenches, actually talking to people, doing, creating the surveys or doing whatever it is you do, right? Or change or whatever it is, right? Development. So you guys have been able to come up with stuff that it can be used in the actual company, realistically be used, right? Practically used. So it's a lot, there's a lot, but that stuff out there, a lot of good stuff. So, all right, anything else? No? All right, so it's gonna be pretty down in there. Anybody on Zoom have any questions? Oh, on Zoom actually, no. No, we good? All right, I'm not gonna mess with it. It's okay.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
just one thing.
Yeah.
So when I said, in order to beat the algorithm, and you're never gonna beat the algorithm, just like you said, but, by strategic, placements, let's say the stock is trading at 750 and the company's algorithm is set at 500, when they're gonna start buying.
Oh, yeah. I see
You
what
set it
you're
at
saying,
800.
Yeah,
your
yeah,
strategy
yeah,
is
yeah.
different, So you might beat
Yeah.
them.
You'll get it, yeah. If you understand the market, you do your analysis and then you set your price, at whatever, if it's not market price, you set it, and just say, hey, at this price, buy, this price sell, whatever it is, right? Yeah, you can definitely do that. And that's what people do. It's just that when high frequency trading, the way that brokerage firms do it, there's no really beating them as far as, gaining the amount of wealth that they're getting, right? You can go in, you couldn't buy 1 million shares of anything if you wanted to. Because the financial implications of that would be there'd be so much red tape you'd have to go through to spend $1 million if you just doing it yourself. You'd have to go to the brokerage firm and say, hey, buy me $1 million worth of Google, right? If you have $1 million in your bank, and you wanted to buy $1 million worth of Google, you couldn't do it as an individual investor. Because they're like, well, okay, where's this money coming from? It's over $10,000. Okay, now we gotta do all this vetting to make sure you're not attacking some terrorist cell, right? Patriot Act kicks in, right? Wire transfer fraud, all this stuff kicks in. So they have all this due diligence stuff, KYC stuff goes into effect. That's not the way the brokerage firm goes, but you can,
Yeah,
to
and
a certain degree.
an additional point towards, microchipping and whatever. So I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but, to stay ahead of the competition, I think military and similar fields are the first ones to jump into these technologies. So I think they should have done much earlier. Let's say we have pet microchipping. So that technology was already available,
Mhm.
but I think there could be resistance to change, specifically when it comes to personification and personal details.
Yeah, absolutely. No, people, I mean, it just takes a minute to get used to that, right? Because everybody's really worried about, surveillance and control and monitoring. That's what they're really concerned with, privacy, right? When does the chip stop working? When I go home, are you still tracking me? Do you know,
Yeah.
am I using it for the bathroom? Am I using it for my bedroom? Am I using it for my garage? Like, so those things have been the issues really. That's why it hasn't really taken off here. They did it, they have a test pilot going on in Ohio right now. Well, it's been going on for a few years now. And they've noticed those issues, right? It's cool when you're at work, but when does it stop working? Like when you got, when the, it, what, it, so they do it in proximity now, right? So they say, okay, once you get 5 feet within the building or 10 feet within the building, it should start working, right? The scanner should really pick up on it. Once you get 5, 10 feet away from the building, it's no longer in proximity, so it's not a sight, so it's not gonna work. So, I mean, there's a lot of things, but a lot of people are not necessarily, all on board with all that, right? Because there's always the big brother watching you and conspiracy theories about the government trying to get stuff and people trying to manipulate your life and Illuminati and all this other good stuff, right? So, hey, gotta be some truth to it a little bit, I guess. I don't know. Like, I just haven't seen it, so but I guess I'm not special. So, it's what it is. All right. Anything else? No? All right, let's move on. Pretty short brief today, all right? So I'm gonna run through this and then let you guys go. I really want you guys to focus on your paper. Take the opportunity, make sure, you edit as much as you can. Don't wait till the last minute to put it together, all right? You got this week and next week. That's it, next Sunday, it's due. It's gonna come really fast, so take the time, work on your stuff. I would say 98% of you guys are on track, paper looks good. Just listen to what I'm telling you about the feedback with the citations and that kind of thing. Because it's not about the content, it's about the presentation of it, the format, the structure, because those things matter when you are at this level and when you're presenting stuff. No one's questioning usually the content. It's how you present it and where you get the information from, all right? And can I go get it myself? Can I go look at what you just said, what you told me to go look at it, right? If you can't do that, then it's like, oh, you stole this from someone, or you borrowed it from someone without giving them credit, right? And as you can see, it doesn't really bode well at the end of the day. They will come get you, okay? They will come find you.
You mean the presentation influence the decision?
What do you mean? No, I'm talking about like the presentation of the paper itself, the structure, the grammar, the format, the way your citations are done properly, if not, or not properly, even your reference listing or the hanging indents, those little things, right? Those, making sure all those little things are done will help keep like the very detailed eye away, right? If I look at your paper and the first couple of pages are spectacular, I'm probably gonna assume the rest of it is spectacular too, as far as format and structure, and I won't be looking for that. I'll be focused on the content, I'll be focused on reading it. But if I get your paper and the first page is jacked up, I'm on alert now. I'm looking for every little thing. Oh, this is over too far. You're missing a period here. This is not cited right.
Actually,
Okay,
I never thought about it. Makes a lot.
that's
You
the
don't
way.
wanna alert the reader that,
Yeah. And if you know what and most people that are going to be reading your papers, more likely are not going to be well versed as you in APA and in the topic in general, right? But if you're turning it in an academic setting, I know what I'm looking for, right? And so I'm gonna be more vigilant and more like, hey, if the paper looks good right from the beginning, it's usually, and that's usually the case. And it's consistent, like from week 1 or 2, if I get the students that are consistent, they like, oh, they're improving, and I see, okay, citation's good, they fixed this, they fixed that, and it's consistent. After a while, I stop looking. I just like, they got it, right? I may see maybe they messed up once or twice here, but I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt that it was just a, whatever.
Brain fart.
Yeah, brain fart. Yeah, thank you.
It's like, when you are interviewing a candidate,
Mm-hmm.
like a job interview, if the candidate presents himself
Well,
with a profession,
You
will
forget
always get a good impression.
Yeah, you forget all the questions you're gonna ask. You start talking about football. Next thing you know, oh, we like you. You got the job, and you talk about one thing about what the job entails, what the person is really bringing to the table. I no idea. I just like you, so come on. You'll be all right. Okay, we'll figure it out.
But did you provide any formats for those students?
No,
Just the general.
no, just the general. So if you use APA manual, and or if you go to Google, or go to any of the databases that have ESCO, all those, resources that when you go get your peer reviewed journals, those pretty much provide the format for how your paper should look, right? Except for the abstract part, and it's different. They're papers, but at the same, the journal articles, I should say, but at the same time, the APA manual guides you through basically everything. You can't go wrong following the APA manual. Okay, there's just no way for me to turn. Christopher, for instance, I said something about hyperlinks, which used to be the truth. They changed it. I wasn't paying attention to it. And Christopher said, hey, Dr. K, they changed it in the book. I said, oh, you're right. Boom. I got no place to go. You're right. Cool. All right. It's just a way of making sure that you have some solid foundation again to prove your point or to stand on, so that if something is a question or something comes up, it's in black and white. I didn't make it up. You didn't make it up. It's right there. Okay, those are the rules. Like, all right, those are the rules. Let's go. No matter how I feel about it, this is the way it is. So I gotta give you credit for that, right? If you don't follow the rules, I gotta give you credit for that too, or no credit. But what's that?
So as a beginner with aspiration, how does a person approach to publish their paper if they're interested and go into the peer review
Ooh.
process and conferences and whatever?
Unfortunately, it's a really crappy process. It's really crappy. So basically, you write it and you find the journal article, the journal that you want to send it to, and you send it to them.
Send it to the journal.
Yeah, you send it to the journal. Yeah, you send it to the journal. You basically write it up, cover letter, boom, you send it to them, and then they'll take their time if they like it, and they think it's worthy. They'll do all the research. They'll reproduce your methodology. Right? That's why it takes so long. They basically go in and they reproduce the methodology. It's like a recipe. And they go, huh?
What do you mean by they reproduce the methodology? Because you already have it. So
They go in and they follow your methodology. Oh, okay. Z said he did an ANOVA and he got these results with this power, with this many participants. Let's run it.
So it's like in science, so years ago, they came out with the quote unquote, they found the gay gene, and I'm just using this as an example. No scientist could replicate the work that
Right,
they
but
did,
they did, yeah.
therefore it was not actual science, it was not a proven thing, because no one else could replicate the experiments they did and what they
You
did.
have to really replicate the
Right,
experiment for it to be,
You have to duplicate.
but yeah.
That's why polygraph exams aren't allowed,
Right, 'cause
aren't
you can't
admissible
duplicate.
because everybody is different, you can never duplicate a polygraph exam.
yeah, so what you mean to say is the verification process and replication process, if your method is able to, if they or someone else tries it, will they be able to replicate it?
They should get the
On them and
relatively the same results you got,
Right,
right? And if they can do that, good. If they can't do that, then that's when they start questioning your work.
So if you're highly optimized and efficient in your research or publication, how long does it usually take, like 6 months to 8 months?
It depends. It depends which journal you're trying to get into, what the criteria is. I'm not, they're all different. Yeah, if you got to get to the really like high-end ones or real popular ones, it could be a minute.
And last question, so everybody would like to publish in a highly reputed or
Mhm.
top tier journals, but why would someone still choose to publish in a low grade or lower tier publication?
Yeah.
The prices are different.
The prices are different, it costs money, right? And then it doesn't really matter, like, it just depends on the discipline, on the industry. You know, and you can send it to multiple journals within the same industry.
Right.
Or you can send it in multiple journals, or, in general, right? And if they pick it up, they pick it up. You can send it to the New York Times.
So the pricing depends on your sending, your application, or when they approve it, that's when you pay them.
No. Well, I don't know when you pay them actually. Yeah, that part I'm not sure about, but there is a fee associated with it. But I wouldn't, it's no faster than probably, I'd say the minimum 6 months. 6 months.
When you apply to the
year.
universities, you have an upfront application fee. So
Yeah.
it's the same process?
You have, there's definitely application fee, but I think that's minimal.
Yeah.
I think it's like $25 or $30, something like that. And then there's another fee after that.
Right, yeah.
But I'm not sure how they calculate that one. But as far as the time goes, it just depends on what's in front of you, how poignant your research is, right? If it's something that's really like earth shattering, some new thing, right? Some Nobel Peace Prize type stuff, you know, you probably move ahead of the line. But aside from that, yeah, I don't know how each one does it differently.
So when they approve or reject you, do they give some feedback? To
Yeah.
what
No, they'll tell you exactly why. They'll tell you exactly why they rejected you.
Okay.
Right? If they can't replicate it, reject it. If they just feel like it's not really substantive, they'll reject you. They feel like, okay, yeah, it's a repeat of some other stuff we have, right? They may have other people that have submitted work in the same area, but not necessarily the same focus. Like, yeah, okay, cool. They may sit on it and wait, say, we'll publish it, in a year or two. It all depends. They all do something differently. But as a DBA, you're not really like not responsible, but they don't really see publishing is not necessarily a priority for you guys. PhDs, you want to be relevant in whatever field you're in, you need to publish. All right. I don't care. I just like to teach. I like to know stuff, but I don't really care. I got articles I've written, but I don't publish them. I don't want the scrutiny. I don't want the, I don't feel like going through all that. But as a DBA, you're not necessarily, you won't be judged because you didn't publish. PhDs are judged. If you don't publish as a PhD, the ones that have published, they'll start looking down on you because that's the whole point of being a PhD, researching, checking stuff out that you can give to the practitioner, right? I come with these theories in my head. I say, hey, try this out. How's it work? And you tell me, this is crap. It doesn't work.
Try again.
Right, go try again, right? And I publish it, right? And then I publish this, and then you read it and say, man, did you see that article that I published, that Dr. Gaines published? Yeah, it's pretty interesting. We should try that, right? And then that's kind of how it works.
But why would someone care if it's an opinion of another person? Unless it's from the peer review panel.
Well, would someone care? What do you mean?
Like, let's say if you have some idea, just like you said. You ask some other peer or whoever, and if they say this is crap, so instead of asking them why would their opinion matter, instead why wouldn't we just think about the peer review panel?
No, when I say peers, I'm talking about the peer review panel. I'm not talking about your peers.
Yeah.
No, your peers may not agree with you. That's why we have contrasting theories, and your peers may be like, okay, whatever. The panel's the only thing that counts. The peer review panel, they're the only ones that count, right? To say, yes, this is seminal work, this is interesting, it's relevant, it's contributing to the body of work, and people need to see it so that it will contribute to their work or whatever they're doing, right? Because that's what usually happens. There's a piece missing in a lot of people's work that someone else is doing across the seas, and then we publish the findings, and they're like, oh my goodness, I didn't think of that, right? And then boom, you come up, that it just helps to support your theory. That's how, a lot of Tesla stuff, You know, he used stuff from Isaac Newton, he used stuff from Fermi, he used stuff, he used stuff from even Edison, right? He used all that stuff to kind of come up with like, oh, wait a minute, that's the piece I was missing. I didn't think about that, like in that way, right? And they use his stuff too, so it's just kind of, the whole purpose of publishing. But it's not necessarily a thing within the DBA community or the practitioner community, right? MDs, JDs, they write stuff, but they don't have to. Mhm. All right, anything else?
Last question.
Yes.
Can you, cite with the website name, like you can say Siemens 2024? Like,
Yeah.
You are defining or defining what is electromagnetic, for example.
Yeah, you can,
You can say, this is, founded on, like Siemens or ABB.
yeah. You can cite, the website.
Yeah,
Cite the website, cite the whatever document it is that they publish that explains that. You can cite a dictionary, the page,
Yeah, like for me with my disc, it's disc and then it's the personality type, like that's
Yeah.
the page. So I do disc and whatever, blah, blah, blah. There's no year, so it's ND, and then down in the reference page, it's this personality types, and then it's the ND, and then it's what the page or for the article, and then it's the website.
Because sometimes you have a corporate author,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
And so there's no real person there. It just it came out of the company, so you cite the
The
company.
law office of.
Yeah, Siemens, whatever it is.
Siemens 2024.
Yeah.
But if there's no date in it, then it's an ND.
Yeah.
For the date, lowercase.
You have ND.
ND for no date, and that's in the in-text citation as well,
Yeah, so
lowercase.
the APA manual shows you how to pretty much cite anything, historical documents, stuff from the National Archives, telephone recordings, video recordings, old
YouTube.
books, YouTube, it tells you how to
Social
cite
media
everything.
now, social media is on this one big time. now.
Yeah, it shows you how to cite everything, phone call, it don't matter. Okay. All right, so let's get this thing rolling here. Rolling. All right, so talking about employee separation and retention, right? So every company goes through this where they basically, at some point they have to start either let people go or people leave. Okay, and so the whole point is, I don't mind people leaving. I don't want my talent leaving. Okay, I don't care if people go and they progress and they do other things, but my aim is to keep as much talent as possible. Okay. If there is some kind of issue within the company where I have to, reduce the force, right? How do I go about doing that? How do I go about managing those things? How do I go about making sure that there's no impact to the operations and production that, is happening right within the company? Because I want it to be seamless. I want it to be, behind the scenes. I don't want the customer to realize like, oh, you just laid off 5,000 people and I can know that, right? It's like kind of like the airlines, right? If the airlines lay people off or get rid of people, you can usually tell when there's a reduction in airline force or services specifically, right? Because you can feel the impact right away. Because you're gonna go use that service and you realize like I used to wait 5 minutes, now I'm waiting 30 minutes, right? So companies always try to make sure that they avert those particular things when they're talking about reduction in force. And you don't want to also have a bad image, right? Of, oh, we had to lay off 5,000 people, but we just gave the CEO $50 million bonus. Okay? Those things don't really bode well in the community. They don't bode well for the public perception of the company. And so companies would try really, really hard to manage all those particular aspects of reductions, be it layoffs, be it reduction in force because of, no sales or low operations or whatever the case may be, decreased demand. It could be a number of things, right? But companies really try to make sure that they take care of their folks because they don't want to lose the talent. Okay, that's really the hard part is maintaining and retaining the talent because it costs so much money to bring somebody on with no guarantee that they're going to be able to perform the job the way you need to perform, right? by, somebody I know I have already who does the job well, I've been successful with, and they're making money for me, I want to keep them, okay? And so you'll get this kind of, sometimes you'll have somebody that's really good, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna go to Apple or whatever, because they're gonna give me $50,000 more. Well, we'll give you $50,000 more, okay? We don't mind. You stay here, we'll give you the money, right? Kind of like teams, sort of, right? No one wants to trade LeBron, or if they trade him, they get him, and they're like, okay, cool. And then everybody else, it's trading time, like, hey, so you gonna trade LeBron? Like, or like Dak Prescott, for instance. You guys familiar with football? Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys, right? The football team, right? Dak Prescott, he's on the hook, or the team's on the hook for $60 million next year to pay him for 1 year. They're on the hook. So $60 million. That's for 1 year. That's what they own next year, right? So everybody's like, wow, are you guys gonna trade him? Right? Probably not. Right? First thing, who's gonna take him at $60 million? Right? Secondly, he's done really well. Right? And so I have talent. If it takes $60 million to keep him, that's what I'm gonna do. Because you have to look out and see, okay, what else is out there in the inventory that I can get cheaper, but still have a competitive advantage, a competitive edge. All right? There's not much out there, right? And so it's like, yeah, we're gonna pay him $60 million, right? But what does that mean for everybody else in the organization, right? What's
More players on the minimum.
Yeah, players on the minimum, right? Right? What does it mean just for the organization in general, right? To give one person $60 million, right? Now I don't know how that's constructed, right? It says $60 million, but it could be a whole bunch of different things that are put together, right? That's not cash. It's ownership. It's stock. It's different things, incentives, and all that other stuff, right? But at the end of the day, companies really are concerned about maintaining that talent, especially in this day and age with the digital age, with automation and all that stuff, right? Having the right people is essential, right? Because now we're starting to get rid of folks, right? First it was blue collar jobs, now white collar jobs are kind of just starting to, get hit with this whole AI thing, all right? And so people are starting to panic. And companies are reducing their staff because guess what? I can make a one-time investment in an AI component or AI equipment, and I can fire 10 people. Okay? I can get rid of 10, 15 people, and yeah, it's gonna cost me $2 million one time, but those salaries are gonna cost me $2 million perpetually.
Like what the airline industry did with the self-check-in kiosk.
Exactly, right? Yep. They did that, and they limited the number of people that they have at the actual counter. Yep.
Can select your seat.
Yeah, you can do everything online. You don't need anybody. So guess what? And not only can I reduce the staff, but the staff that does remain, guess what I can do to them? Reduce their salary. Right? Because I've shown them I can replace you. I can get rid of you. Right? So you're lucky you're here and you have a job. So guess what? We need more money. So we're gonna cut your pay. Right? That's not gonna happen, in light of all the stuff that the airlines are doing, and they're about to raise baggage fees again next month.
Keep flying Southwest, you'll be all right.
Southwest is about to
They're about to kick one
get
in.
ready. Southwest they're gonna start charging for bags here in a minute. Don't you worry. Okay. The model is just not sustainable in light of the competition.
So if they're gonna start charging us for the bags, why would they not do it now, or earlier?
It's just timing. When you're just waiting to see when the best time is to introduce the policy, make sure they have everything in place. And just kind of, no matter when they do it, how they do it, it's gonna be some angst. People are not gonna be happy about it.
So initially, is this just the justification for charging a customer higher, a premium, compared to the others that they're providing back for free now?
Well, now they're gonna have to try to figure something else out, because that was kind of the thing that they leaned on to charge people more. Because Southwest flights were more expensive than other flights, right? But the thing is that you got 2 free bags, right? You get to pick your own seat. I kind of like the whole process of you get to the airport and whatever seat you get, based on prioritizing if you want to be upgraded to the people that got the first
1 through 15.
Right, you pay the extra 10, 15 bucks, but they make money off of that. But if you look at the airline industry and you look at the amount of money the airlines are making off bags, right? American Airlines made $6.8 billion last year on bag fees. 6.8 billion. There's no way they're gonna give that up, right? And Southwest is seeing that, seeing like, man, 6.8 billion, and people are paying, right? That's the whole point. People are paying for those flights. And although Southwest is more expensive, it's not that much more expensive than American Airlines or some of the other airlines. The kicker was Southwest gave you those 2 free bags, right? And so if you fly in Spirit or, Spirit is what, $60 a bag sometimes or whatever it is, you can be on a low cost airline. So those things matter, right? And so companies really look for ways in which, they don't necessarily want to reduce the staff, but if reducing the staff means more revenue, which in turn means more profit, they will do it. Okay, they will do it.
Yeah, similarly, I think, the credit card companies, the way they have their model set in a structure,
Mm.
I think they make more money by just those little fees.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
4.5 billion or whatever.
Yeah.
Just by introducing a little fee, because they
Absolutely.
know people are gonna default on that. Right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of psychology that goes into marketing, that goes into business, right? Understanding the human psyche, understanding consumer behavior, right? And action. That's why it's important. That's why they collect all the data. I'm trying to figure out how you act, why you do the things you do. What are the trigger points for you, right? What is your, everybody understands the concept of elasticity, economically speaking, right? Inelastic and elastic, right? It comes to certain things that it don't matter how much they cost, you're gonna buy it, right? There's other things, it gets to a certain price, not buying it, right? And then they know that, so that's why you see sometimes, it's not a coincidence things are $5.99, right? It sounds better than $6 psychologically.
590,
$5.99. Yeah,
7 at the
$7.
end, that's the number, if you want people to buy it, put a 7 at the
Yeah.
end.
As long as it's not a whole number, people will buy, right? And this is something that's been proven over decades. This marketing 101, the psychology of marketing. You make it $4.99 or $5,879. That's basically $5,000. That's
But you see, 4,000.
yeah.
Because it's based on simple things like how many people amongst the ones who are buying are gonna look at that little number and decide if they're going to buy.
Exactly.
Yeah. Decision. Like most people just go it on as well.
Yeah.
Oh, $5. They don't see what
No,
99
they don't.
cents or whatever.
They don't see it. But for a company, if I have 1 million customers, even a penny makes a difference, right? It starts to accumulate very quickly. And next thing you know, 30 bucks from each person on bag fees, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Okay. All right. So reasons for employee separation, right? Pressures on firm to remain competitive and efficient. This is definitely a key, but usually employees aren't leaving because of that, right? The company is letting people go because of that, but the employees aren't leaving because of it. Because most employees are looking for security, right? And within, for the most part, right? We have a different generation now that they don't want to necessarily stay at the same job. They kind of like to move around and get different experiences. But at the end of the day, it's still job security, right? And that's what we're looking for. But companies, in order to stay competitive or feel like they stay competitive, they'll either let people go or bring people on, right? And sometimes it becomes to the point where they will hold on to people, although they don't have anything for them to really do. They hold on to them because they're so scared that the labor market is going to dry up and that they have a good talent that they want to keep it, right? I have a friend in Accenture, and he was leaving. He's part of a startup, right? And we were talking and stuff like that. And he's like, yeah, I went to my boss at Accenture, told him I was leaving. His boss went to his boss and said, hey, David's leaving. And just like that, they came back and said, hey, Dave, why are you leaving? I got the startup thing and conflict of interest and, the money and all this other stuff. What would it take for you to stay here? Give us 6 months, okay? Give us 6 more months. What would it take? Extra 50 grand? Got it. No problem. Dave goes to work at 10. He's usually off at 3. He travels. He works on like different contracts. So right now he's on the Nike contract. So he goes to Seattle. He has an office at the Michael Jordan building. Goes hang out there whenever he wants. He can go anytime he wants. Doesn't have to go if he doesn't want to go, right? Just so they can keep him on staff till they kind of figure out what they're gonna do, right? And so companies do that all the time. So there's a lot of redundancy. There's a lot of waste when it comes to that. So companies will, start to let go of people once they feel comfortable that the market is gonna be able to provide that same quality of person down the road. Right? I wanna make sure that I'm set up because I don't wanna get kind of, caught with my pants down, sort of, right? I'm over here trying to compete for market space and a market share, and the other companies are keeping all their good talent. Matter of fact, they just hired the guy that I let go, right? And now they are killing me, okay? And I need to get quality people back. So, decline employment commitment to employers, right? That's something that, of course, that is, again, based on organizational culture, based on what you have the person doing, right, the kind of job, and where they're at in their career, right? For us older folks, if we get a job, we're probably not gonna go anywhere. We're probably content with, okay, job's going good, everybody's, aside from like maybe some personality issues, right? If everything is going good, you're satisfied with what you're doing, you're probably not going anywhere, okay? Can't say the same for the younger generation or people that are just starting out, their first couple of jobs, right? They go, they like it, but they're like, I wanna try something different. So they kind of move on, or they lose interest, or they just not, there's no loyalty to employers anymore. Okay? The loyalty is gone. Now it's basically free agency. I'm gonna go to the highest bidder, right? Kind of type mentality. Whereas before, people were loyal to companies. They would stay with companies for through thick and thin. Would matter, right? More kind of like how they do, in Asia, in Japan, and China, and those kind of countries where it don't matter. I got a job. I'm staying with this company until they kick me out. They tell me to leave. All right. And
Sorry to interrupt.
no.
Regarding the first point, pressures on firms to remain competitive and efficient. Do you think like companies that go public, they have more pressure to hire people to stay like, or to become more profitable than non-public companies? Or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because you have, when you go public, you have, aside from just the government and all those requirements, you have shareholders, you have investors, right? You have a board. You got, all the people that are looking for their earnings per share, right? They're looking for their return. So, and you have, the thing with going public is that you have to maintain the public trust, right? So you're offering your services, your company to the public, and you're taking their money, right? So now you have more pressure to, perform, right? Because you have a larger portion of the public's money, right? And so now you need to, show the results. You need to prove to me that I made a good choice, I made a good investment, right? Because if you don't, then guess what? I'm gonna pull my money out, I'm gonna roll out, and you're gonna go belly up, all right? Whereas private companies, things get rough, guess what? They can tighten their belt, they can let go people without any fuss, right? Because they don't have to obligate themselves to it because they're not taking public money, right? So there's no, the only entity that takes public money and really doesn't have to show anything for it is the government.
So Fox, Target, and Disney are all getting sued by shareholders for things they've done.
Yeah, mismanagement
Like
of funds, just the NRA is about to get sued, because of the former CEO LaPierre. He spent money on private jets and parties and all kind of stuff for himself. Those are all investor funds. Those are not,
Well, those are, no, NRA are, member funds.
well, member fund, they're still part of the public. They're still a public company, all right? The point is that their money being used for things that are not necessarily, associated with the business. And it's not that he can't travel and do stuff, but you can't use the money, to live a life of luxury, lavishly, you know? It's kind of like being in the church, being a pastor in the church. And you see pastors and they got these big mega churches, right? And they rolling up in Mercedes and Bentleys, and meanwhile, the people in their congregation, Honda, can't even eat, you know, working 12, 15 hours a day. Meanwhile, Joe Osteen is pulling up in his new Maybach with a chauffeur, because he's got $20 million he's making a year from tithing or whatever it is that the poor parishioners are giving him, right? So kind of the same thing, right? There is a demand to, or a perception that you gotta perform to provide private company. All right, so let's go top separation, right? Reduction in force, turnover, and retirements, right? Those are really the three major, kind of, you know, ways that companies start to get smaller, right? Reduction in force could entail a couple of things. Turnover, of course, we have involuntary and voluntary turnover, right? You can leave if you want. I can let you go if I want, okay? In a way. They have retirements, which have totally morphed now, for a couple of different reasons, right? One, their working age has gotten a lot older, right? People are staying in the workforce a lot older, right? You got 50s. 50s are no longer like, oh, you're getting close to retirement. Not even close. 60. People are working well into their 80s now, 70s, 80s, and still going strong, right? And so what does that do for retirement for the people underneath them, right? That's one thing. First, second, you got more cost associated with the retirement as far as the longer they stay, the more money that you have to pay them out, right? But the thing is with retirement is that they're not working for you anymore, right? So you basically got dead space on your books, right? That's what retirement is. When you talk about pensions and all that, it's dead money, right? I'm paying this money out, but I'm not getting anything for it, right? I'm basically paying someone for the service that they did, right? Commitment to the company, which is one thing. Okay. So that's that one thing, right? And then, something else, I can't remember. Oh, so the retirement structures have changed a lot, right? Before it used to be, you know, your standard pension, you stay 20, 30 years with a company and you get a pension for the rest of your life until you died, and then that was funded, you know, through different employee, taxes or whatever the case may be, and fees. It's not like that anymore. Now, most companies want you to manage your own retirement, your own 401k, your own IRAs, all that stuff, right? And it's on you now to do it. The military is the one place where you can kind of rely on a pension, but they've gone away with that. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe. Yeah, it was TSP 401k. So, but they have advantages to it because now, you know, before, if you stayed with the company 10 years and you left, you didn't have anything to show for it because you leaving. So there was no pay, right? But the companies now, if you with the company 10 years, you start to leave, you can take your 401k with you. You can take your IRA with you. You know, you can take the money that you've been saving up for retirement, you can take it with you and roll it over into something else. Whereas before, you were kind of banking towards that pension. You did 10 years, but then you're like, I'm kind of burnt out. I don't want to do this anymore. But you got nothing to show for it, except for 10 years of maybe a severance check, right? A couple months, and you're like, oh, appreciate your service and see you later, right? And so a lot of things have changed with retirement structure, and which have allowed companies to, you know, kind of be more flexible in what they're doing, right? So causes of reductions, restructuring, the result of mergers and acquisitions, right? That is definitely a big one. Whenever there's a M&A, right, merger and acquisition, there's always going to be some reduction in force, right? Because if you have two companies, we got duplicates of everything, right? Two CEOs, two COOs, one of them has to go, okay? And so usually whoever's buying the company, they're the ones that stay. The company being bought, they don't want that go, right? Normally, right? Normally. Now, if it's an acquisition, that's different. Because an acquisition, that means I'm bringing you in, I'm probably keeping you in whole because I like what you're doing, right? As a company. And so I'm gonna keep you, that's why I'm gonna keep your CEO. You're just gonna be a division or a subsidiary of the parent company, right? But a merger, I'm sucking you in. I'm taking all your resources and I'm merging them into my entity. And so I have to get rid of your folks. I gotta start chopping them down, hey, you definitely gotta go. You make $1 million a year, you gotta, we already got one of those, get out of here, right?
I can give you an example, the, TV shows Suits.
Yeah, Suits. Mhm.
Suits. When, the first.
I never watched.
You never, so it's like the original law firm
Mhm.
got merged by another one.
Mhm.
So one has to go back to you.
Yeah.
With this, one of the CEO.
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the.
No, I don't watch it, I never watched it before. But I mean, it happens on a regular basis, right? Companies merge and, or get acquired. And so, normally when there's acquisition, the companies are being bought, like Google, Microsoft, they'll buy these mom and pop companies so they can have control of them, right? Taking them out of the competitive space, right? But they'll keep them as a whole because they don't want to break them up because they actually are making money, right? Why would I break that up? They just leave it the way it is. And then I just kind of, put you under your own thing and you CEO, you report to me. Okay, that's just the way it is, right? The mergers are a little different, right? Attempts to make organization much more cost competitive. Yeah, we know that, okay? Because then when you bring them together, you share resources, really, okay? That's really what the point is at that, right? Adjusting the declining business environment conditions, again, normally when we're talking about environment conditions, we're talking about a lack of resources. The resources are dwindling or there's a very fierce competition for the resource, for the limited resources that are out there, right? Everybody's going to Africa to get their gold or diamonds or whatever the case may be, right? There's a lot of competition, right? We need to figure something else out on how we can leverage our company to have more access to some of the diamonds, right? Well, okay, how about we get with this company here who's doing the same thing, and we say, look, we'll buy you, and then that way you can use your connection and my connections to have a bigger market share in trying to get some of these particular resources that are available, right? So that's usually what it entails, and other things too, but it usually has to do with the sharing of resources and things kind of disappearing or companies coming in and just taking over like NVIDIA, right? They're just kind of steamrolling a lot of these mom and pop companies with the chip and the chips for the AI and all that stuff, right? So since AI is such a big hot topic, NVIDIA is rolling right now and they're stomping out a lot of people. So how people are jumping on board with them. And look, we have access to certain things that you could find useful, right? How about we supplement your inventory, supplement your resources, and we'll come up under you. And it also alleviates the company that's getting merged or acquired from a lot of of the day-to-day stuff, right? Now you belong to this company. Guess what you don't have to do anymore? I don't necessarily have to file taxes anymore, right?
HR.
Yeah, HR is gonna do it, right? I didn't have a big HR company. Now I got a big HR department to tap into, right? I have all these resources, all this money from the parent company, and they go, hey, fix yourself up, get yourself together. How much money do you need? All right, well, let us know, we got you, right? And so there's more access to resources if it's an acquisition, right? So there's a couple of things going there. Reasons for reductions, inefficient operations, lack of adaptability in marketplace, weak and competitive market position in industry, right? So again, all those things really relate to resources, right? There's not enough people that I can get to that, have the skill set that I need. There's some economic or governmental issue that is prohibiting me from growing or stop me from doing my business, right? It always boils down to money or something that, like, look, we just had a scandal and we gotta, break it up, okay? Or the government says, hey, let's talk about Donald Trump, right? This week or last week, got hit with $356 million and he can't do business in New York for 3 years, right? None of his entities, his sons either, right? That's a huge blow for him because he's headquartered in New York, right?
Oh, yes, to close this hotel in New York.
No, it's more
No.
complicated than
Yeah,
that.
it's super, yeah.
20, yeah, so it's really $450 million and it's already on appeal there.
Yeah.
It should get overturned at some
But
point
when you
because
say you cannot do business.
there were no victims in it.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna happen. I think they're gonna keep it.
But what a relaxed policy of just But like punishment of, just not for 3 years and not like 7 years, like,
No, he can't do business in New York for 3 years.
yeah, but how relaxed it is it? only
No, it's
3
not,
years?
no, yeah,
Only
no.
3 years?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, yeah, that's fair. I think the 3 years is fair. The $350-something million, I'd be curious on how they came up with that figure exactly.
So
Yeah,
the
so that's
law
why-
on that is supposed to be based on
Right, the
a
harm,
percentage of what the
Yes.
victims
Right.
lost, and there was no loss, and
Right.
there were no victims and there was no loss.
right,
So it's actually a violation of the Eighth Amendment, for punishment. It is.
yeah, I don't think they're gonna overturn it because, it's fraud no matter which way you slice it, right? Even though one got hurt, it's still fraud because just because you can't see the victim, right? So let's just say, for instance, there's no victims, right? And the bank he was dealing with gave him so much money, right? That's less money they have to give to anybody else.
You paid it back then they made a huge profit.
No, what I'm saying is the opportunity cost is gone though, for the other person, for the other people. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're like, yeah, it's no big deal, right? That's not, but that is, if I'm going in for a mortgage and they say, well, no, we're gonna do this deal with Donald Trump instead because he's inflated his numbers and it looks like a better deal, a better way to use my money, instead of offering people.
But in his documents, it was, go do your own due diligence and make sure the numbers are right.
Yeah,
So he didn't write any of the contracts, he didn't do any of that, he hired people. And those are all
Yeah,
things, but it's
But the thing is, it comes on the person who is,
it's still an Eighth Amendment issue because it's an excessive fine when the law says that it has to be a percentage of whatever the loss is, and there was no loss.
I think he's gonna get stuck with it. And even if he doesn't, he still has the whole 80-something million that he has to pay Gene Carroll.
Yeah, that's already getting reviewed and
Yeah.
that'll get thrown out too.
Oh. That's not gonna get thrown out. You think he's gonna pay less?
No, I think a lot of that will go away too.
No, he's already been convicted of it. He's been convicted of the crime. Now there's the whole phase was
But
the
that
whole
was a
penalty
civil
phase.
case.
He already got convicted of the rape. So now he has to pay yeah, that happened months ago, where they found him guilty of the rape. And now it's the penalty phase of when the judge awarded her the 80-something million dollars, and he's like, well, that's ridiculous. Why is it 80-something million dollars? Well, defamation, libel, all this stuff, and that's what they're trying to figure out now. He's already been convicted of the rape. Yeah, that's already done. Yeah, whether or not he's appealing that, I don't think so, but he definitely got convicted. Yeah.
Can he, since he cannot do business, like his wife can do that, or?
I don't know how they're gonna do it. They're probably gonna put in some kind of trust. Well, I know for sure that now there's gonna be a auditor at each one of his companies, and that person's gonna oversee the operations.
So the
Right.
government would.
Right, they're gonna put somebody, yeah. Cause I went through that when I was in Toyota. We had an auditor there. It was a government person, the lawyer. That's the only job they had for a year. They just sat there and just made sure everything was, hey, these are the things you got fined for. I wanna see all the stuff, all that.
That was a civil trial, it wasn't a criminal trial.
Yeah, but he still got convicted. The civil trial for the money or for the?
No, he was not criminally, it was not a.
No,
criminal
it's
trial.
not, a civil trial, but he still got
So it's
convicted.
a way different,
Yeah, he still got convicted, yeah.
a way different.
Yeah. And then that's the thing, because it's civil trial, the amount of money he has to pay, it's just up in the air, so arbitrary, because like, oh, pain and suffering, all this other stuff. That's why I was like, that's a lot of money, but he just got a lot. But I'm curious to see what happens with that, because you're right, you make a good point. It is part of the Eighth Amendment, and there's no victims, like,
The law says it has to
Yeah,
be a
what's
certain,
gonna
it
happen?
can be no more than X amount above what the loss
Yeah.
was to the victim.
we'll see what happens. I'm all about fair treatment. I don't care about, the person. I just like treat them fairly. Don't treat them any different than you would anybody else, right? Make sure he gets a fair shake. If it's a fair shake, then it's a fair shake. If it's not, then fix it. Yeah, fix it. Don't screw them over because you don't like them. That ain't the point. That's the whole point of the judicial system. Okay. Let me see, continuous paid outplacement program, right? So when you do kind of, if they let you go, right? Many companies have programs where they provide some kind of supplemental income until you kind of get on your feet. Sometimes they give you 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, depending on where you're at on the pecking order as far as the hierarchy, right? If you're an executive, you usually get a parachute, little deal, and it's real cushy and nice, and it's a year's worth of stuff, and you got your stocks and all that stuff. You're kind of lower level, you probably get 2, 3 months worth of pay, and then, always like, hey, we'll provide you some references and things like that, right? And most of these folks that are getting let go at that level usually aren't necessarily worried about, finding on the job unless they did something criminal, or unethical to get fired or to get let go. But if it's just a reduction in force based on, business operations and just lack of business, most of those guys usually find, or gals usually find something, or have something already set up pretty good. And they're financially, they're usually pretty set, right? But companies do have, things, or they may bring you on a special consultant where they 1099 you, and instead of paying you, all the benefits, they say, hey, look, we're gonna pay you a flat rate of $15,000 a month or something like that, whatever it is the rate is, right? And then that way, you're still with the company, but they don't pay, payroll taxes for you, they don't pay any of that other stuff for you, no benefits, but they still keep you on, and you still have income coming in, you just have to handle all the other stuff on your own insurance, your own retirement, your own payroll taxes, you gotta do all that stuff on your own, right? But there's definitely, spaces or things that you can do to, get things, on track.
Well,
What
that's
time is it?
just one quick question.
Yes.
What's the difference between, cause and reason?
Say that again?
What's the difference between causes and reasons?
What do you mean?
Because in the previous slide,
Uh-huh.
cause of rejection, reasons for rejection.
Like, what
I
would
mean,
cause,
why we call it?
well, basically, what would cause me to have to reduce, this is kind of more of a macro level type thing, right? Where it's like, oh, the economy's bad. The government just came in and said, all businesses have to do this certain thing. That's the cause of it, right? The reasons for reduction, right, that's internal. That's more like,
Micro.
yeah, it's more micro, right? Where it's like, this product is not selling as well, okay? Or your particular department is not producing, right? So we gotta X you
Or
out.
like, external, internal.
Yeah, yeah, this would be more external factors, these more internal factors, right? More reasons for reduction, yeah.
Thank you.
So you can still, it could still be a little bit of, external, but this one's kind of weird, where it's kind of external but internal, because you can't keep up with the market, sort of, right? You're not competitive in the space. So the space is external, right? But you can't keep it up internally with what's going on with the market, right? So you basically are getting pushed out, right? And so in order to, maintain some semblance of your company, you probably start letting people go, right? Okay, because I need to reduce my costs so I can, kind of manage a little revenue that I'm making. I need to keep myself afloat, so I start doing more things on my own, right? As an entrepreneur, you do a lot of things on your own, right? You do all the bookkeeping, HR, your IT, you do all that stuff, right? But your company grows, you start to hire people to do those things for you, but it's offset by the revenue that you're bringing in, right? You're getting more business, but I can, bring more people in if I'm getting more business. If I'm getting less business or no business, I can't afford you, basically. So I gotta let you go.
Yeah, what you said here is a little bit, different from what we used to know from management accounting.
Mm-hmm.
In management accounting, company might or acquire smaller companies just to expand their business to grow.
Yeah.
And all of that. But here we are talking about reduction, and we are still talking about merger and acquisition. Yes, if company want to reduce cost of, production costs and all of that, yeah, we also, try to, in the process of also expanding or getting more people into the system, and stuff like that. So looking at it, I'm just trying to, understand from your own, aspect, how will I match? Because I want to reduce, employee or what do you call it? I want to minimize cost.
Right. Okay, I think I see what you're saying. So if I'm the acquiring company, I'm not in the business of reducing the force, right? Like you said, right? If I acquire the company, I'm trying to expand, right? But if I'm the company being acquired, right, I'm going to have to go through some reduction, right? Based on the fact that we just got bought out by someone else. So whatever it is this company A is bringing, or B, I should say, company B is bringing to company A, this is money. This is valuable, right? Whatever resource, whatever reason I'm buying you for, this is valuable to me, right? This is a source of income. This is a source of revenue. So it's going to add to my coffers, all right? It's going to add directly to my money because now I own you, okay? And so the reduction is going to happen here. It's not going to happen here, okay? It's going to happen here. I'm going to grow, all right? Because I'm taking more people from here and I'm putting them in here. But this is going to get smaller, okay? And because now I own it, it's kind of like it belongs to me, all right? So now as a whole, am I reducing the force? Yes, I'm reducing the force of a newly acquired entity, all right? But I'm increasing my numbers at the same time, if that makes sense. It's kind of like you bought it, it's yours, and then now you're gonna shrink it. But it's going to aggregately increase your numbers, if that makes sense, all right? And so that's how you can kind of, reduce at the same time as you're making, as you're expanding also, right? Because whatever this company is bringing, right, they may bring a geographical access to market that I don't have, right? Let's just say, when I worked at Care Fusion, we bought this company in Italy, who did the same thing the company did here, right? But it was access to a new market in Italy. And so we basically took the company in Italy, boom, they became part of Care Fusion. We let all the principal components go, the CFO, COO, some of these other folks, and we kept like the senior level management because they could run the company. I don't need a CEO and those guys to run the company. So then we let them go, right? And then we grew in numbers, they went down in numbers, right? But our balance sheet went up, okay? Their balance sheet just disappeared, okay? So we're making more money, we have more people now, right? But we also have more resources, less people, and then positive cash flow. They're in the black, right? There's only two reasons a company is gonna get acquired. The company's making money, or the company's competitive, and it's a threat. Okay, so I need to absorb them, right? And this is the issue with Microsoft, Google, Amazon. They always get sued because they kind of suck up the mom and pops, right? This is where the conversation about big companies and mom and pops, right? You kind of, if you really look around, aside from Walmart and Target, where else can you go get stuff? Amazon, right? Aside from those people, like where else do you go? Where do people go to get stuff, right? You don't. There's no place else to go, right? So you go to those places. Yes, you can go to your local store, but at the end of the day, they're barely probably making it unless they have loyal customers that are coming in there all the time and are not going to go to Amazon and Walmart and those things because the mom and pop doesn't have the convenience that Amazon has. It doesn't have the inventory that Amazon has, right? Think about those things, right? And so they get sucked up and basically, look, they get a big check. They're out of the way, right? Amazon got rid of them. Amazon has now access to their customers, not only in the sense that this company is bringing their portfolio of business, right? The business book of business. They're also kind of putting the consumer in a corner. Where else you gonna go? I just took away your one option. You know, I'm the only game in town, so come on.
Like a chess.
Yeah, checkmate. Break time.
Yeah, it's a little after seven,
Oh, yeah.
7:05.
We can keep going and finish up.
7:30 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, keep
everybody good?
going.
All right, Zoom, everybody good? No bathroom break?
Everybody good.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna keep going. All right, okay, so the next thing with RIF is, reduction, the WARN, program, right? Work Adjustment Training Notification Act. So this only applies to companies that have 100 or more employees and whatever,
The
I'm gonna lay
large
off
scale
50 or
layoff.
more, huh?
Large scale. layoff.
Yeah, large scale layoff, right? By law, they have to give you warning that, hey, we are about to lay off, 1,000 people, right? It's 90 days, I think it is, or something like that. 90 days, yeah, 60? 60? Okay, thank you. 60 days, right? They have to tell you, like, hey, we're about to do this mass layoff and give you fair warning so that one, you have an opportunity to find a job, right? Two, you can kind of decide whether or not you want to leave then and there, kind of just take off. And then also for the company, it helps them kind of figure out, okay, what the next steps are and what's going on and stuff like that.
It also helps the company to not pay all of the employees, because if someone leaves by their own,
Admission,
they don't have to pay for,
Right.
I don't know, unemployment or
they don't have to pay for anything.
that little period when they don't have.
Yeah, they don't have to pay the payroll taxes, they don't have to pay any, any severance, they don't have to pay anything like that, right? If you get fired, that's one thing, but if you leave on your own, the company doesn't owe you anything. Okay, you could just, you resign, or whatever the case may be, that's why, depending on the situation, it's usually better to resign than get fired, but if you're looking for the monetary financial, compensation, depending on, where you're at in the company, it's always better let them fire you, right? And then you can't get unemployment if you resign, if you leave, right? You can only get unemployment if you get fired. Yeah, involuntarily let go. If you voluntarily leave, you don't get unemployment, right? So that's an important aspect for a lot of people. Even though unemployment, if you're making $100-some thousand, you're not gonna get $100-some thousand on unemployment, but some is better than nothing, right? So if you need to go that route, right? So doesn't apply to government agencies, okay? Government agencies don't have to tell you anything about, yeah, we're gonna, start laying people off in 60 days, but they typically do, right? But the government doesn't necessarily do it like that. They don't. It's very rare I've seen a mass layoffs, right? The government does something called furloughs.
Furloughs and hiring freezes.
Yeah, hiring freezes. They kind of lock you up, and they let you go without letting you go, sort of. Like they kind of have you on a leash, sort of. Like they'll let you run, and then we'll yank you back when we need you, sort of, right? So the government doesn't really, wholesale fire folks and let them go, right? So they have other ways of doing it. So that's why it's not really, when it comes to government agencies, it's not really applicable per se. And it's like I said before, it's really an act of God to get rid of a government employee. It's one of the hardest things you'll ever do, try to get rid of somebody that works for the government. It's very difficult.
Even when they commit a crime.
Yep. They even commit a crime, yep.
Trust me, I know from
Yeah.
experience.
It's crazy, right?
Trying to get rid of one.
Yeah. Natural disaster, right? So when we had COVID, right, this didn't apply. Because there are a lot of people that went to work one day, the next day, don't come back. And guess what? COVID, I had to close my doors, I'm not making any money. Or if I was making money, guess what? I don't have, there's no way I could have give you 60 days advance warning about whatever was going on, right? So those things don't count, hurricanes, natural disasters, or what kind of falls in the category of force majeure. Kind of unforeseen natural disasters that nobody has control over, that kind of thing. Unforeseeable circumstance, fortune company, that kind of thing, okay? All right, some strategies for managing employee surpluses, avoiding layoffs, all right? Let me talk about hiring freezes real quick. Offer early retirement incentives, right? So a lot of companies will, especially nowadays, because of the way retirement is set up, they will offer people early retirement and say, hey, look, we're gonna, we need to reduce the force. So it's either you retire early or we're gonna let you go. Okay? So if you retire early, you get your retirement, whatever that is, okay? If we let you go, you'll get you a check, but it's gonna be a finite period of time, right? It's gonna be like 3 months or 4 months, whereas retirement is in perpetuity, sort of, right? That in the old model, right? Nowadays, because you can take your 401k and your IRAs with you, a little different, but it really was a difference between, hey, early retirement and letting go. It's being let go, right? And depending on what your circumstances, sometimes the early retirement is better for you, right? So say for instance, like in the military, we had early retirement at one point.
Yeah, the 15 years.
The 15 years, right? And so a lot of people took that because they had stagnated in their rank. They had stagnated in their promotion. They knew they weren't getting promoted anymore, right? But they could stay till they get to 20 to retire for retirement purposes. But they looked at it and say, okay, if I retire at 15, take a reduced retirement, I can move on with my life and do other things, right? Instead of sticking around for 5 years, I'm not gonna get promoted. That extra 5 years is not gonna really increase my retirement pay that much, right? In most cases, about, extra $200-300, maybe. Yeah, a month. If you don't get promoted, so it became a really good plan for reducing the force, right? And giving people something that they can walk out with and saying, hey, I retired from the military at 15 years, right? It's a reduced retirement, but nonetheless, it's still a retirement. Right?
My dad was put on early retirement
Mm.
before he was 60.
Mhm.
He's almost 90. He'll be 90 this year.
Right.
Or he'll be
Breaking it in.
90 this year. And when he retired, when he sat down with the benefits person, he asked, he said, so your hope is that I sign this and die right here at the table? And they're like, yeah. But now he's like, they like just have to keep
Right.
paying him and paying him. So he's been retired since 92.
Right.
And he's been collecting money,
Yeah.
he's been collecting more and more money since 92. Like,
And the thing is that they have provisions in there, after a certain period of time that you've been early retired, you automatically get bumped up to the full retirement. So let's just say you take early retirement 15 years. 10 years goes by, you're still, a kicking, right? They have to bump you up to 20-year retirement pay automatically.
that was part of the 15
Yeah.
year.
So then that person now gets 20 years, like they retired after 20 years, right? Instead of the 15 years. So it's usually a substantial jump between 15 and 20 based on, the 10 years COLA, because we get increases for COLA in our retirement pay. All right, so every year my retirement pay goes up, but so does inflation and all that other stuff, right? But
Just like you said, 2 points, it's very difficult for, to lay off or let go of a government employee.
Mhm.
So it's applicable in military. Plus,
Mm.
what you said a few days ago when, you said that it's easier for the company to let go of the seniors because anyway, they're gonna have to pay more
Yeah.
and they will always prefer lower rank individuals because they can get the same work done
Absolutely.
by them. So it's like giving them that 5 years of, win-win situation for both. So if they leave early, they can not pay them for 5 years for that higher premium and hire lower grade or
Yeah.
employees who they pay less.
Right.
And in a way, they make money, save money, and also for the employees, if they leave early, they still get those benefits.
And it also opens up promotions for the lower levels, right? You'd be surprised how one person at the top, when they retire, how it opens up a whole thing for like hundreds of people. It's fascinating.
It's so much money is released to be dispersed.
Yeah, it's just crazy. It's just weird how just one or two people at the senior level, no?
Yeah, because, yeah,
It's just crazy, I never really understood it till I worked in DC.
because you have to replace.
Right, you got it, but it just the lower level just open up and it's like, oh, you didn't realize it, boom, it just kind of trickles down and boom, 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 boom,
The
boom.
manager.
It's not a one for one. all the way
Right, it's
down.
not, yeah,
It's
so
like a 1
for
for
three,
3,
one
or
for 4,
8,
yeah,
or 12.
yep.
There's an exponential
That's
growth
right.
to it.
So that's another benefit of it, especially
That's why
for,
they give retirement.
yeah, for jobs that are really stagnated, where there's not a lot of promotions going on. They'll do that, that way they can open it up, and then that way the younger folks have a chance of, moving up, and they can usually fix whatever it is it's causing the stagnation. It's usually a design flaw in the way that the job is set up and the promotion, process is set up. So they have an opportunity to fix it, but, usually someone at the top, they probably don't wanna go just yet, cause they're trying to maximize their retirement, right? And they like what they're doing, and for the most part, after 30 years of working, if you started working at 20 or 15, you've been working 30 years, you're still young, right? You're still you're a young person. God willing, you work with one company 30 years, even if you started at 25, you with them 30 years, at 55, you got a lot of life to go, right? Your dad, you got a long way to go. So, there's just a lot of other things you could be doing with your life. You get another job, you got 2, 3 incomes coming in, that's kind of like the benefit of it all.
Regarding retirement, there is the principle of, the,
Diminishing returns, is what you're saying.
I mean, because, your money loses value with time.
Yeah, that's everybody, but that's why you have an increase in
There's increase in retirement, or?
well, yeah, you have a base increase and you have an increase in COLA, but that's not for everybody. I'm just referring to the military. I know we get that.
Because if you get like 10 years retirement,
Yeah,
your money will keep losing value.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. Our money's worth less tomorrow than it is today, all right? But inflation is, that's the cause of it, but that's why it, kind of ticks up. The problem is that the tick up doesn't keep up with inflation, all right? Inflation went up 2%, but my raise only went up 0.5%. So it went up, but not enough for me to really make up that difference in inflation. So my money's still not worth, still not worth as much, but it's better than, where it was before, right? So that's that's the thing that happens, with that. So long run, hiring freezes, early retirement, cost training employees, we kind of talked about that last week when you kind of take somebody and say, hey, look, this job, we're gonna kind of close out this particular, I don't know, position, or not even that position, that whole line number, right? Let's just say seamstress. We get rid of all the seamstress, okay? But we'll cross train you in, IT if you want, right? Because then you can add value to the company and we'll keep you on board and everybody's happy, right? You go, cool, all right? So those are all long-term kind of remedies, right? Short-term, right? Voluntary leave, across the board salary reduction. And the voluntary leave, you'll see a lot of people take this when they'll say, hey, look, go on sabbatical. There's something very popular for teachers, right? Professors. I'm going on sabbatical. I'm going to go do research. I'm going to take 6 months off and go find myself, right? I'll be back, right? The company's like, good to go. We will keep your spot open. You're not going to get paid, but we'll keep your spot open. So when you're ready to come back, you come back when things are better, we'll let you back in, right? So we got all these different type of things. And then, as far as policy, staffing less than 100%. Most companies are running at less than 100%. I don't know any companies that are running 100%, even close. Then now, when you dig deeper and you look at departments, individually, they might be running 100%. But then, you'll have operations that's running 100%. But marketing will be running at 50%. HR will be running at 40%. All the important aspects of the business will probably be running at 100%. But all the support, typically 50, 60%, 70%, they're not running at full tilt because we are expecting you to do 2, 3 jobs. We expect you to do 3 jobs. You're going to do 2, 3 jobs. You're going to do 2, 3 jobs, right? Because you can, right? But I don't want my operations officer, my COO, doing too many things. I need to focus on certain things, right? So I need that person to kind of be like, okay, fully staffed because there's a whole lot of things going on, right? And I need to staff 100%. Just like, think about the cabinet, right? The president's cabinet. That is 100% staffed, okay? There's a secretary for every Secretary of Interior, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Education, Secretary of Defense. All those positions are filled there 100%, if not more, when it comes to the presidential staff. But once you kind of get past the cabinet, it starts to kind of like, 80%. Right? If you go internally to the Department of Defense, it's not at 100%. It's like 70%, 60%. You go even lower than that, it's even worse. All right. And so it's not always about, having 100% staff, because you're usually not going to have that, because all this 100% staff, right? That's just money. That's manpower, it's dollars, right? How much money do I have to support this entity, right? If I have $1 million, how many different ways can I spend that $1 million on staff, right? To get the skill set that I need to have, right? That may just be able to get me 2 engineers, 1 computer programmer, 1 IT person, 1 cybersecurity person, and then I got 1 program manager, and that's that. And they running the whole department, right? You'd be surprised on how much, how small some of these, the departments or entities are that run these huge things, right? You would think like the VA would be fully stocked, the Department of Education would be fully stocked or fully staffed, and they're not. There's a lot of places in there that just, as a one-man show, okay? Or 2 people running this super high-end, super intensive, labor-intensive department with like 50 trillion things going on. It's 2 or 3 people managing those things. So, sometimes you gotta look at it and go, okay, how can I, keep them, right? Because it's already running at a deficit, right? So I have to kind of keep people around as much as I can. I'm not mess with this. Not gonna go through that. All right. Turnover, involuntary, voluntary turnover, and you guys can go back and look at this. It's not really anything too crazy. It's just a lot of stuff that we kind of talked about already. But it's really kind of just going through the stages of how you would kind of deal with, all right, some of the things that you would use to remedy the reduction in force, so to remedy, employee turnover and that kind of thing. All right, involuntary turnover, voluntary turnover, and beneficial turnover, right? So we kind of talked about these 2 already. The beneficial turnover is when we both kind of mutually departing, right? We mutually say, hey, we're gonna separate, and it's kind of like a divorce when both parties are like, yeah, it's run its course. I don't love you anymore, you don't love me anymore, but everybody's happy, right? Here, if somebody's not happy, all right? Here, 1 person's happy. Okay, all right, but this one, both people are usually happy, okay? And so it kind of helps. It depends on the situation and the people and the job, of course, but once you start talking about turnover and involuntary turnover, right? That's where you really have to have a lot of PR, make sure you communicate properly, right? Open lines of communication. And you don't want to necessarily blindside people with letting them go, right? There's nothing worse than having to fire someone, right? And then having to escort them out the building, right?
I watched a movie before,
George Clooney, yeah, up in the air, no, what was it?
Yeah.
Up in the air.
I mean, there are even companies who do that.
Yeah, yeah, oh, absolutely. There are companies that will come in and they will fire people for you. Yeah, I've been through that one too.
Efficiency organization,
Yeah,
that's what they're called.
or chicken.
Yeah, they're called yeah, basically it's an efficiency consulting firm. They come in and they, what was it, Office Space, that's what they, the movie Office Space.
Yeah.
It was an efficiency organization that came in and said, yeah, we're firing you.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, the movie. Yeah, they sit down, they work out everything, how much everybody should get, and then they bring everybody in, sit down one at a time. You're being fired, sorry, you've been let go, management is, appreciate your service, here's your check, next. Come on in. Security's gonna let them out, boom, get your stuff, keep it moving, right? And it works, it just, is it the most humane way to do it? No, but.
Is there a humane way to do it?
Yeah, there's really no humane way to do it, but it definitely is easier because it takes the emotion out of it for
A third party.
Yeah, because if you work for me, I probably have a relationship with you, right? I may have been to your house a couple times for dinner, and then I gotta let you go, right? Guess what? You're gonna start crying and bawling about little Susie, little Susie, the ballet lessons, I can't do that, and you're gonna have a soft heart, like, okay, let me see what I can do for you. We can't have that, all right? So they bring in these companies that kind of do that kind of work, but And also, you gotta be careful with, when you fire people, some of them are hostile. They will jump on your desk and try to fight you, right? Which have had happened to me before, okay? And we had one that was not really good. This happened a while ago, at Pendleton. And it's years ago, it's decades ago, matter of fact. We had one guy, he was getting relieved. He can't remember what happened, but he basically went to the office. They had fired him from his job, and he was gonna go through a court martial, everything. Came back the next day, he shot the CO, shot the commanding officer. That happened in Pendleton, probably like 15 years ago.
Well, I know the one where the EXO got killed and the CO got shot, that was the Ian case.
Yeah.
So that was a respect thing and he was a gang banger and all this stuff.
Nah, this one was straight up. He got relieved, and he just didn't like it, and he went it back and he shot the CO. Yeah, I'm gonna say 15 years, maybe a little more than that. Yeah. But yeah, so you don't want to necessarily have to deal with all that. Tell you the truth, but as a leader, you have to get comfortable with that. You have to get comfortable with firing people, hiring people, delivering uncomfortable bad news, all right? Just as much as you're delivering good news, it just comes with the territory. And sometimes things happen, but for the majority of the time, people, they'll be upset, but once they have some time to cool off, this is why. What day do people usually get fired?
Friday afternoon at the end of the day.
Friday afternoon, the end of the day. Yes, you know why? Because everybody's gone. Yeah, he or she has time to think about it over the weekend. All right. If I fire you on Thursday, you might come in on Friday and shoot the place up, which that has happened before. Right? Go do it on a Friday. Everybody's gone. Nobody's come back until Monday. Have some time to think about it, cool off. And that's the recommended approach to let people go.
I work for a Italian manufacturing company,
Mm-hmm.
and the boss liked me because he saw that I have leadership.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, "Red, I give you a new like kind of HR
Mm-hmm.
new task, you see, so you can be very productive. You need to fire people.
Yeah.
You did not say fire people, but you have to
Let them go. Yeah.
let them go.
Yeah.
So I was excited I did that. I resigned after 3 months because everybody hated me.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
relationship was so tense.
They
Were the
They
accident,
even broke my car. And,
Oh yeah. They see you coming. Yeah, they see you coming. They're like, you know what that means? Somebody's going. All right.
yeah.
Yeah, and then retribution, and they retaliate, and they retaliate hard.
Can we say we refuse to do this because of the factors that are gonna come after?
What do you mean?
Like his car got beat,
He refused to do the job?
yeah, the way they say, like, instead of them doing it, they want him to do it, and then when he did it, you know what the repercussions were later. That's like his car got broken down.
Yeah.
Even people called me by the phone and insulted me.
Yeah, just because of
I
that,
was
his
shocked.
job was affected, like, he had to leave. because
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Okay. So what were you asking though?
So can he not refuse, or ask?
Yeah, of
them to do
course,
that
yeah.
job for them?
He
Just
could
like-
say no, he doesn't want to do it, but
At that time I was young, I said yes.
yeah. But if you say no, it's kind of like turning down a promotion, right? Or kind of turning down more responsibility. Then that shows me like you're not ready to really move up. We probably are not ready. You're not leadership material, right? Because if you're not willing to take this job on that is confrontational and very difficult, I understand the repercussions that come with that, right? But every job that's kind of in the position of doling out punishment has to deal with that, right? If you're a judge, right? He, gave Donald Trump 355 million in 3 years. He cursed him out. Oh, as soon as he had a chance, he cursed him out, right? That comes with the job. That's just the way it is. You're the DA, you're the prosecutor. It comes with the job, It's just one of those things. Like when you are delivering bad news or you have to do things that people.
It's like the way they're saying, like, deal with it. This is what you have to deal with, like.
Yeah, as far as the person doing it, yeah, you got. But you know that going in, like, okay, that yes, there's gonna be some people that are not gonna take this well, and so this may happen to you. But that occurs in a lot of jobs.
So after this has happened,
Mm-hmm.
and he's about to leave, can he not ask them, how would he remedy this instead of just leaving the company? Because this is what is happening to him.
Yeah, I mean, he could remedy it, but the point is like, what can the company do? There's nothing the company can do. It's not like they can go to the person and say, hey, don't do that to Rad's car, okay? Like they tell them that, like everybody knows, you don't shoot the messenger.
It's emotional, people already hate.
Right. Rad is he's just the messenger. Rad didn't make the decision. Rad got told, hey, this person has to go. Great, Roger that. I'm the executioner. That's all. Yeah, that's why they put the little mask on the executioner. Right? When you see, anytime you watch a movie for the most part, and you see somebody getting executed, the person doing the executing, the head is covered because of that.
So does the company pay him for?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Like he got affected.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. This is why judges have security details, right? The police, the chief of police, they have security details. They have people like certain positions, district attorneys. Those people have security details. You won't see them. They're around them. Those folks are around. They might have a whole bunch of people, but they have one or two people. Just kind of keep watch, like make sure everything is good, especially if there's something high profile that occurred that you just did. Unfortunately, companies don't have that luxury to put security for Rad, or for just a typical person. But part of the assumption is that if you take this job, you take this role, this is what comes with it. And you have to kind of deal with that. And then, for Rad, it was like, look, I don't want to deal with it. So I leave. But there's some people, they love it.
So do you know what happens with the prison officer or people who get bullied by the inmates or whoever because of the decision they made, move them from one cell to the other or whatever?
I don't think that happens very often. Like I don't see too many inmates bullying the COs.
No, there's a
Like,
level of respect to the hierarchy
Yeah.
on both sides of things.
Yeah.
And for the most part, and I would turn around, but I can't turn my neck that far, but for the most part, for each side, if there's an understanding that it's business and not personal.
Right.
Like when I used to deal with all the gangbangers as an investigator, I was known as a little white guy to all the gangbangers.
Yeah.
It was because I never disrespected them. They had respect for me because I showed respect to them.
Mhm.
And there wasn't a personal confrontation in anything. It was just, this is
It's
business.
business. It's business.
And they were like, yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
They
You got me.
criminals are different, right? Criminals know they may complain, they may say all kind of things to police, but they know I'm a criminal. It's your job to catch me. It's my job not to get caught,
Yeah.
right?
I don't-
But in a corporation it's different, right?
Yeah.
Your job is to do the certain thing. You didn't do the job well enough, so we have to let you go, right? And people don't necessarily, all they see is the person delivering the news. They don't think about what's actually behind the scenes because they're so in the moment. So they think they just see Rad. So let's just say, so today, all right, I'm going through a VA process right now. I went to a VA appointment 3 weeks ago for an exam. And I thought I was done. I get a text message saying, hey, you have a new VA appointment. I was like, I had this appointment already. All right. And so I call him up like, hey, I already had this appointment 2 weeks ago. I'm thinking that everything's getting processed at the VA. Well, the doctor you saw wasn't under contract anymore with the VA, and so you have to come back in and see the contracted doctor now. And I was like, what kind of nonsense are you guys talking about? How can you have a doctor that is gonna examine people and they're not under contract? Did they not get the memo that they weren't under contract, so they shouldn't show up to this office to do examinations? And I was upset, I was very frustrated with the person on the phone. And then in my mind, I was like, this person had nothing to do with it. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to yell at you, I know it's not you, I'm just frustrated with the process. I appreciate you, being patient and understand. She was like, yeah, I know, I get it all the time. It's not me, I know it's not me. And so it's the same thing. It's not Rad. Rad's just the messenger. He's the one that's been so, astutely and very confidently said, I'll do it. Because it's not an easy job. Firing people is not easy. Okay? I'm telling you right now, if you've never done it, you should try it. It sucks. Okay? It sucks. It's really terrible. I've never had any pleasure in doing it. Even people that I think deserved it, it's still got me. But, It is what it is, right? All right, what time is it?
10:35.
All right, that's all I got for tonight. Finish up this PowerPoint, like maybe 2 or 3 slides left. And, like I said, week 7, going into week 8. You don't have too much to do this week, just your regular old discussion. And then next week is, the quiz here this week, and then next week is paper, PowerPoint, presentation,
Group discussion. Paper.
and quiz,
PowerPoint.
yeah, so.
Presentation.
Got a lot, so take advantage, try to stay, ahead of it, get some of this stuff done. Next week, and then, when is the week open for you guys, Sunday?
No, we don't get an open week until, the Monday of January 29th, or April 29th.
No, I'm saying, when is the week 8 open for you?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, it's not open yet.
Wait, okay, so it's open tomorrow?
Wednesday. Yes, tomorrow, after midnight.
Okay, tomorrow, okay, cool, so you guys have time to go in there and kind of get ahead of the game, because I mean, that you were talking about trying to get ahead of the quiz.
Is it possible to use like an iPhone or Android for the school emails, or should we always?
For what?
Like, I wanna put my emails on the phone.
Yeah, so for the school email, yeah, you just have
Yeah.
to download Microsoft Office.
Yeah.
You use the app.
Yeah, you have to use the
Yeah,
app,
it's
you
all
download
through
the app, yeah.
Yeah, it's all just through the Microsoft 365 Office with the school email, your school account.
Just
And
like
then you
Google,
can do-
Google, Yahoo.
Although the Outlook doesn't fully work, because I don't get everything, like everything doesn't show up on my Outlook on my phone for some
Yeah,
reason.
it depends, if you have multiple accounts, sometimes it gets funny. but-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right, any questions from Zoom?
No questions.
No, okay, I'll see you guys next week then. Have a good night.
Thank you, Doctor. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
So I've been Evanston, and I'm in the online library.
Yeah.
And I do the citation, I do the 7th edition for it. It'll do like the title